Alright guys, today I'm going to be showing you this 4 racks build that I've been theorizing about a bit, and what triggered it was, for those of you that watch Artosa's stream, you've seen him get 2 base ultra pretty often, and I actually hit it a few times, and I was struggling to deal with it with 5 racks because I was killing their third base. I actually had a game where I killed the third base like 3 or 4 times, but the guy still just had enough ultras where I couldn't kill them. My upgrades were lacking. So the theory behind this build is getting fast upgrades in case they go ultras, but also even if they just play standard, you have this really nice 11:30 timing, or around 11:30 timing, where you have 6 vessels instead of 4 like you would have with 5 racks. And 11 minutes is about the time when defilers start coming into play, where Zerg is just so airtight it's hard to break through their defense. So they've kind of hit defiler tech, and now what do you do as Terran? But with this amount of vessels, you can irradiate so many lurkers and so many units that there's a real threat of you busting through. So I'm just going to preface with that's the theory behind this build. So we'll just go over the build a little bit. Everything is standard. We've got 11 racks. We're going to scout on 11 and a half. And the reason for that is if we scout Zerg first, we're going to skip building Marines and put down our command center as fast as possible. The build order really is very similar to 5 racks, but we're going to have a slightly delayed eBay. I know that doesn't make sense really, but with 5 racks, because you're getting +1 armor afterwards, your +2 is actually slower than doing this variation that I'm about to show. Let's just turn on vision so we know where they are, so I don't have to think. So this is a single player game, obviously, so I'm just going to play standard. We're going to build 2 Marines, expand. Alright, built our 2 Marines. We're going to go expand now. I'm just going to leave this here. Right, so when you're 2 racksing, a lot of times your SCV is alive scouting for a while, and really you want to get down that second barracks as fast as possible so you can pump out a bunch of units and put some pressure onto the Zerg a little bit later. So we're going to cut Marines right now. I'm going to play it essentially how I would normally play. Build another Marine. We're going to go down here and build our depot. Now in this variation, I'm not going to build a bunker, just so we can see how streamlined the build can get. And you know, a lot of times I like to build like streamline the build, like when this happens, do this and blah blah blah. But this is a little more involved, so I'll just tell you the timing's 3:45 gas. Command center is about to finish, so we can transfer like 5 or 6 is good. Now we want about a similar timing for the academy as 5 racks, so about 4 minutes, 4:10. That's a good timing. Still no eBay. We want to get our econ going as well as possible. We don't want to rush this eBay faster than we need, because it's almost impossible to get +2 faster than 8:30 or start +2. So we don't need to start the eBay just yet. I like when the academy's done, you go build the eBay. Get stem. Now I'm just going to move my Marines here so we have a better arc to engage these Marines that we know are going to come. And I just want to lose the minimum. Okay, so now that we have a decent army, we could theoretically move out right now and put on some pressure, force out some Sunkens. So I won't move out this time just so I don't mess up, but you can do that. So get your comp set around 5:30. Oh, we have a bit of excess money. Put down 2 more racks and make sure you don't get supply block. So now that stim finished, we don't have 100 gas yet for our factory, but send an SCV up there. So as soon as you get 100, build it, because this is all about hitting a fast timing. So we got 100, 613. That's pretty good. And you notice that I'm extremely low on gas, right? So get your refinery also. And now's about the time when mutas would come into play on the field. So we're going to build 3 turrets. Okay, so now about 7 minutes, a little earlier, is about the time when you don't need to build SCVs anymore. You're going to have perfect saturation, essentially, so stop building around then. Our factory's done. Instant 2-star ports. Well, we'll build 1 more, or 1 or 2 more. Looks like we may just barely be at 12. You're looking for 14, okay? That's the magic number. It looks like we have 13. So we'll build 2 more. Just to make, oh damn, I got supply blocked, so I'll cancel. No, I won't. But if we didn't get supply block right here, we'll cancel this, because the main, it's oversaturated. We've got enough SCVs going. We've got about 21. That's more than enough. You should have also built turrets in your main, but it's okay that we missed it. Now, here, when you build the science facility, the eBay timing is the exact same time. So build them together, get your add-ons, right? Now, even though this is a 4 racks build, you're gonna have excess money. Now, I do realize that I missed a cycle, but in general, if I hadn't missed, I still usually have enough for 5 racks. So we're gonna change our rally point. Now our science facility is done. We get, look how low our gas is. Like, this is perfect. We've got enough gas for double vessel. We just started both of our upgrades. You'll notice that my gas is so low that I can't start irradiate just yet, but that's fine because it's not like the vessel's gonna pop out with full energy anyways. So let's just kill some units off, act like we've already had a fight. No, in general, we would have had a fight before this. But you can see how razor thin this build is, right? Like, we only had 70 gas. If we had spent gas on 3 medics even, we wouldn't have been able to hit it. So we've got excess money. Build a command center. Get irradiate. And just make sure that you're always trying to not get supply blocked. So our 2 vessels came out. We're going to queue up more immediately. We still, again, we don't have much gas. So make sure that if you don't have enough gas for both at the same time, you come back and build them. So you can see that we already have 2 vessels out. They're going to have irradiate basically at about 10:05. So already with this army, we can put on big pressure onto Zerg, because 4 racks, you're really not out on the map other than the initial pressure with the like one group of Marine Medic. You kind of play defensively. So now we already have vessels. We're already putting on extreme pressure just having these 2 vessels, because a lot of time Zergs will just defend with 2 or 3 lurkers and sunkens. So if we irradiate them all immediately, Zerg's all of a sudden in panic mode. So we have more vessels coming out. Build those. Also, you can send... Oh, I forgot to say. Once you build your command center, if you have excess resources, which we do, start building more SCVs, because our saturation right now is perfect for 2 base, but we're going to have 3 base soon. So you want to be building some excess SCVs at this point. But before then, don't build any excess, because you don't need them. So we've got our 3rd base going down. Transfer 12, it's just an easy number to remember, a full control group. You can spread it from both the main and natural. That's what you should do, but you don't have to, of course. So look what we got. We got 4 vessels, 5 vessels, 6 vessels. Now this set is the point in the game where it's up to you on what you want to do. I like going double dropship after this, because if we pause right now, the reason I like double dropship now is because, like I was saying before, this is the point where defilers come out. So what Zerg is going to be doing is going to be paying a ton of attention to wherever your army is with the vessels. So in this case, I was attacking the natural, right? So I'm going to be irradiating lurkers and defilers nonstop. So let's say Zerg expanded up here, right? Now, because Zerg's attention is focused so highly here, they're not going to have dropships, or not going to have Scourge to stop this. And even if they do, well, it's unlikely that they're going to. If they do, it's not going to be very many. And also, if you didn't use all your irradiates just yet, you have so many vessels you could potentially dematrix them and just go bust up there. But that's what I like, is I like the quadruple dropship after the 6 vessels, because they're going to be their focus is going to be building lurkers, because they don't want to die to a bust in the front. So let's just take a look. I'm going to kill this army. Oh, we've got, okay, so these were my first 2 vessels, right? So at 1140 we've got double irradiate, right? So that's 4 irradiates. We've got these 2, that's 1 irradiate, and we've got 2 more that just popped. So at 1150, we have 8 irradiates. That's an insane amount of irradiate to have at this point in the game. When you're 5-raxing, I think you might have 4, maybe 6, maybe. I don't even think you'll have 6. So your potential to bust through a natural or the ramp here is incredibly high. It's absurdly high. I had a game where the guy had 6 lurkers stacked on top of each other at the 3rd base, and now the only reason he defended it was because they were stacked and I couldn't target them one by one, but he barely held because he was able to get a defiler out in time after the 6th irradiate went off. So your potential with this build to bust through defenses is insanely high. And this is one of the trouble spots I personally have when I 5-racks is, okay, I put a lot of pressure onto the Zerg in the early game, but they still got their 3rd base. Now what do? It's not like I'm stuck 5-raxing, because you still have map control. You can still take bases. Like, we've already taken our 3rd base. I should have taken bottom right, and then you can transition into mech or whatever. You still have good map control with 5-racks. But what I like about this is that once they get a base or once they get hive tech, you still have the potential to just go kill them. So that's the theory behind this build. Now you can follow up with whatever you like. Do you like to go factory play? Well, I don't know about going factory play because you're already going bio with the double eBay, but you don't necessarily have to get these double upgrades. Like, if you're a player that likes to mech switch, you can cut these upgrades and instead just go for more vessels, keep a lot of pressure on the Zerg with the mass irradiate, and then tech switch behind it. That's fine. You can also go BCs, whatever you like. What I like to do is once I get my 4th base up, I generally build up to 7 Raxes. Why? I don't know. That's just been consistently. I have 7 Raxes. That's just how it is. You can go up to 8, 9, whatever you like. So I get 7 Raxes. I start putting on add-ons and build more factories. I get 3 or 4, and then at my 4th base, I would build 2 more factories and 3 barracks here, or 3 factories and 3 barracks, something like that. And I would go into the passive marine, medic, tank, bio army with upgraded bio and mech. And you can also see that our plus, well, I didn't get to see the exact timing, but I can just tell you what the timing is, because +2 takes about 3 minutes and 8 seconds. If we started it at around 8:40, that means our +2 finished at, give or take, 11:45. 11:45 is an insanely fast +2. Normally Zergs start their upgrades at around 10 minutes if they're going standard evolution chamber timing versus 5 racks. So that means they're not even going to have +1 when you have +2. And if they do go for that ultra style, they end up having, the fastest I've seen them having +2 is 11 minutes, but in general the average for me is 11:30. So your +2 finishing at around 11:40, 11:50, there's really only going to be a 20-second window where you're down in upgrades. But because you're sitting in your base waiting for these vessels to come out, that's not even an issue, because you're not getting out onto the map until you have your vessel count. And then also, because you're banking so much energy on these first couple vessels, you can have, we saw I had 140 energy on 2 of them and 100 on the others. You can put down quadruple defensive matrix, and then your units definitely are not going to die to ultra lane. So that's the theory of this build. I'm just going to show a replay of me using it. It's a little off, but you can see that I did go for that type of play, and we can see the effects of the build. Let me find this game. Alright, so we're going into the replay. Let's just ×4 it in the beginning. And this build is a little bit more involved. It's a little bit harder to hit than the 5 racks. You saw how low my gas was the entire time, so it's very easy to mess up. But I did tell you guys about a few patterns you can look for, such as Academy, then when it's done, eBay, and then once your science facility goes up, build the eBay at the same time. So I did try and make it as easy to remember as possible. So in this game, I scouted wrong. For some reason, I went to the top. I'm not going to find him as a second scout. So we did build the depot before the command center. Everything is exactly as played from the single player game. Now I do find him here. And going into the game, this was a game that I was streaming, and I talked about how I was just going to go for this build no matter what I saw. If it was two hatch, we're going to do it. If it was 3 hatch, we're going to do it. As everybody knows, if I see 3 hatch, I'm 5 raxing a lot. But this game, like I said, we're going for this build. Now, our first big timing is the 345 gas. So we got it at 350, so this is pretty good. Next up, we're going to be looking for that Academy around 4 minutes, 4:10. We already got our second barracks down. Again, I don't have a bunker. My SCV did die, so it is a little bit worrisome to do that. But here comes the Academy. I think I pull off an SCV to block a little bit, just to give it a little bit more surface area. But when you're 2 raxing, you have a lot of Marines, so you can sometimes get away with it. This is a bit risky though. But our Academy is about to finish up. We're approaching 5 minutes. That means the eBay is going to be going up shortly afterwards. There is the eBay. We get stem. Now we got our first 2 medics coming out, and what we're looking to do again with the 2 medics is put a little pressure on. We've got the eBay coming down. It's finished. We put down our 2 barracks. Now this could be a mistake. We built 2 fire bats, and we already know that this build, you need a lot of gas in the early stages. You can't afford to be wasting gas like this when you know you need range, you need comsat, you need the 2 medics. you're going to be building your factory. So I think that building the fire bats in this at this particular time is a mistake. If I built the factory first and then built these, that's a lot better because you're going to have the gas for your 2 starports 100%. But at this point in the game, I think the fire bats were a mistake. But in general, when I do 2 racks like this, this is like an autopilot for me because you do get counterattacked quite a bit and 2 Marines won't stop mass lings, whereas fire bats sitting on a ramp do have the potential to kill a lot of lings. So I'm going to move out here pretty soon. We've got 13 Marines and 2 medics. So this is a pretty strong attack. Zerg has to be worried. Now let's play from my point of view only. I'm moving across the map. I'm still in the dark, so a counterattack could have been scary, especially with that dot moving across. Now I played a bit greedy, not building a bunker, but we scan. We see he built 3 Sunkens, so this is going pretty much as planned. We forced Sunkens out. We also saw the Hydra Den, or the Hydras pop out. Now, because they just popped, I'm not sure if he has top right. You can assume that he probably does, but we don't know just yet. My factory went down. I missed the timing just a little bit. I'm pretty sure it's around 6:25 because I've watched this replay. So it's off about 10 seconds. We scan the main to see if he's rushing Hive. We see an evolution chamber, so that's a big timing tell. We know that the Hive's going to be a little late. We spotted the lurker, so we can't move up, but we expected him to have the lurkers. The big thing is that we've got our main army outside of his natural. It's going to be very difficult for him to push out. Meanwhile, I have my starports going down. We're lining up basically perfectly for our +2. If he tries to move out, it's just going to be so difficult for him. So starport's about to finish. We're going to put down our science facility in eBay. At the same time, I've got my 5th racks coming down now that I have money. And here comes that science facility and eBay. And you can see +1 is pretty close to finishing. Because we put down the factory at 6:25-ish instead of 6:15, this is going to finish slightly faster. So it finished at like 6:38. Our science facility finishes at 6:52. So we were about 15 seconds off, but we got instant vessel. Now, if you're facing ultras, because of how important the upgrades are, let's say somehow you mess up the build, like for example, you get your gas late. You should build the upgrades first. The vessels are amazing, but if you're missing the upgrades, that's kind of the key thing when facing Ling Ultra. So make sure you, if you can only afford one for whatever reason, this is what you get. Definitely damage. Maybe you can skip armor to get out the vessels, but this is mandatory. So we got our vessels coming out. We've got 5 barracks. I've got a decent amount of money, so I'm going to start putting down or thinking about putting down a command center. You can see he's trying to get out, but it really, like, it's just so hard for him to get out. There's my command center. Our first vessels are about to pop 9:40-ish. That means we're going to have about 10:30 4th vessel. Our 5th and 6th vessel is going to be out around 11:20. So we're going to hit this pretty perfectly. Now, every lurker that he's losing here, even though I traded poorly, remember, our timing is not necessarily this 10-minute timing. We're not looking to get any catastrophic damage off. We're not looking to end the game at 10 minutes like you're trying to do with 5 racks. If he wants to trade lurkers at this point, that's fine, because we're going to have mass irradiate very soon looking to bust his nat. So this is fine. He traded 4 lurkers for a sizable Marine army group. But here we go. I'm moving in now. I've already gotten my 4 vessels out. I moved across the map. We almost pick off 2 lurkers. If we had gotten that before the Dark Swarm went off, that would have been catastrophic for him, because we have 1 or 2 lurkers left. There's a decent amount of lurkers over on the right side, but he's got to Nidus them through. And if he feels threatened by these vessels, he may move them all, which will allow me to counterattack into top right and potentially kill it. And behind all this, we've got our 3rd base, at least floating over there, about to land. I'm taking 4th base. I got my 5th racks, putting down the 6th racks. And everything is going pretty nicely for me. Now we've got our vessels here, so we're going to start irradiating 2 lurkers already down. We lose this vessel, which is kind of a big deal. We'll, for future talk of what we could have done, we'll assume that that vessel survived. So I still have so much energy. Another irradiate going down. And I should have 2 more vessels pretty soon, right? Yeah, so they just came out. So we're going to be moving those up to the rest of my army. And literally, you just sit here irradiating for days. He's so worried about this that he may forget to build Scourge. And what I think I should be doing at this point is once those vessels got built, we need to instantly build dropships. I talked about it previously. You build quadruple dropships. Look at his air defense at this point. It's non-existent, right? There's also no air defense on the right side. So if we had gone quadruple dropship after the vessels, they pop out at 11:50-ish. I think dropships are about 30 seconds. So at 12:50, we could have 4 dropships ready to drop somewhere. I mean, I have a huge army because I haven't really lost very much. We only had that one decent sized engagement with lurkers here. Seems I have lost my army on the right side. But our army is still massively strong. So we can afford to load up 4 dropships and go for a doom drop on either side of the map. So it seems I lost my army on the right side. I'm sending another reinforcing group just to make sure that this guy can't start getting crazy on the right side. Meanwhile, still more irradiates going down for me. Look how many irradiates I just have. Despite casting so many, how many do I have left? 1. Okay, I only have 1 left at this point, but still, we've irradiated so many lurkers. He has 1 left. There I go. I go and irradiate, and at this point in the game, remember, he sees these units, so he's worried about an attack on the right side. If I had fire bats right now, I could go in. There's only lings. But I really wish I had gotten dropships. It looks like I decided to go more vessels. I don't know why I did that. I would have liked the dropship play, but I seem to have realized that, hey, there's no lurkers here. So I do push in. We're going to get a few ling kills for free. And then I just back off. Oh, I even get a lurker. And now I back off. And now, since I've killed so many lurkers, I'm feeling confident that he's going to have a hard time constantly building the lurkers over and over again. So you can see I've started to move like a real army. I've got tanks mixed in. My 3 factories have gone down. I've got my armory going down. I've got my 7 barracks that I talked about earlier. We still have some units on the right side. Not very many, but we still have some. And now I have finally mixed in some fire bats. And I've decided that I can actually kill him now because we've killed so many lurkers all game long with constant irradiates. We still have 7 vessels left over. Ultras are coming out. 15-minute ultras are very fast. Usually you're seeing them at around 17 minutes. But my Marines are so heavily upgraded. They're already +2. His ultras are pretty strong also with +4. But remember, we started +2 at like 850. So that means we're going to have it around 12 minutes, which means my +3, if I had clicked it immediately, my +3 would kick in around 1530, 1540-ish. So we'll look and see when my +3 kicks in, but it's got to be pretty soon. And once +3 kicks in, like, what's his +3? It hasn't even started yet. So these ultras are very weak. They need support. I'm surprised that I still don't have any drop ships. It would be so great. Like, we're just so open everywhere. Every spot is vulnerable. But we're still continuing to put on the pressure. There's still a lack of lurkers here. He doesn't have gas. He's pretty gas starved. 300 gas is pretty low for 4 base Zerg. He's mining the gas at his 4th base. His saturation in terms of minerals is not great, but he is mining gas here. So this is legitimately 4 gas Zerg. And we're just plowing through pretty easily because we just irradiated forever. Now, please build dropships. Okay, finally I have built dropships. And that's exactly what I think you should do. Zerg is just so vulnerable. I am fizzling out a little bit here, maybe overextended. But really, Zerg is not scary. My +3, I guess I didn't get to see it. But 1630, we know that it's done by now. I'll try and rewind, see when we got it. Let's go to 1550. Do I have it by 1550? Not yet. So I did miss it by a few seconds. Okay, 16-minute +3. So in comparison to 5 racks, you would start +2 at around like 10:10 if you were really on top of it. 10:30 is probably a reasonable timing, which puts you at about 1340 for +2, and then another 330 for +3. So we were looking at a 17:10-ish, 17-minute-ish +3. So we're ahead in upgrades by a minute. And this guy, I think he had +2 about a minute before our +3. So we're going to have like a 2.5 minute window where we're going to have +3 advantage over his +2. That's incredible. Like, we're just going to trade amazingly versus him. But meanwhile, behind this, I have my 4th base set up. I've got my factories. I still should put down like 2 more barracks here. The 2 factories is pretty good. I've taken my 5th base. Everything is going extremely well for me. I'm trading so well. Constant irradiates on the lurkers and defilers. He doesn't have many lurkers or defilers left. And those 2 ultras that we just saw fight, the army was really small, but I was able to clean up because my upgrades are so super strong. And now I finally have a huge drop to top right. It's kind of a clowny drop because, again, there's no medics. So that was a bit of a blunder. But we're just keeping the pressure up everywhere. He did a small counterattack with lurkers, but I'm already fortified. This is basically how I think you should play follow-up Terran versus Zerg in the 15-minute mark. Go for a bio with mech mixed in, and then with tons of irradiates like we see. And now that we found a hole, we're just constantly pushing the issue, and this is essentially going to seal the game. We take out the Nidix. That means we're going to get the natural, get the main, and all that stuff. So overall, this build, I'm really loving this build. It's very strong. I love how you can keep the pressure up at a point in the game where Zerg is not used to having that type of pressure. Sure, they're used to having like drops, but if they build Scourge and leave them all around their base, they're going to be feeling pretty safe. But when you show up with these 6 vessels and 8 irradiates, and you're just sitting here, right? It's not like you're microing Marines and vessels and medics in the middle of the map, and then the Scourge can pick off the vessels pretty easily. It's going to be tough for him to get the vessels. So the vessels are going to remain strong, and you're just constantly going to keep picking off lurkers and defilers for free. And another thing that I like about this build is a versatile build. It works versus 2 hatch, it works versus 3 hatch. It's great. So if you have issues playing 5 racks, like for whatever reason you can't keep up the pressure with the 5 racks, you're not able to control the units, there's too many units, whatever the issue is, now you're going to have this build where you're going to have a lot of units, but in the early stages, you're going to be sitting in your base playing pretty passive. You're going to wait for your key units to come out, like the vessels, and then you're going to move across the map. It's going to be near impossible for Zerg to engage you. You can get into a good position like we did here, and then just use your vessels to poke in, and once all the defilers are gone, all the lurkers are gone, that's when you can strike. And also, with all that pressure, we saw the whole game. No Scourge defense anywhere. Not here, not here, not here, nowhere. Now, of course, this Zerg did mess up a bit by doing that. But when the game gets crazy like that, Zerg does feel the pressure. Like, man, if I don't get my lurkers and defilers down, I'm going to lose my natural. That causes mistakes. So anyways, I hope you like the build. So far, I'm loving the build. I love the versatility. So I hope you have good success with it. And I think it is a great build, especially for people that need a less aggro build but want a really strong one.